to our final segment of CityLine. With me, I have two individuals who are here to talk about a really wonderful partnership that falls underneath the Pierce Transit umbrella, and it's we're calling it Limited Access Connections. So please join me in welcoming Penny Grellier. You are the Business Partnership Administrator for Pierce Transit. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You were here last year talking about trolleys.
That's right.
And man, I love those trolleys. They're quite fabulous. You brought this handsome man with you, Mr. Todd Kelsay. You are the Pacific Northwest General Manager of Lyft.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I was just watching a really groovy show. It was a documentary, and the people got into a Lyft car, to the Lyft right there. I was like, yeah, I'm digging me some Lyft. Lyft is amazing. All right, let's get down to this. So, Miss Penny.
Yes.
Give us a short description of what Limited Access Connections project can do for people in our community.
So, as you know, we have a fabulous public transit service
yes,
here.
we do.
But unfortunately, in our service area, there are some parts of it where people cannot get access to transit, either at certain parts of the day or certain days of the week when they might need to make a connection. We also have areas where perhaps the infrastructure isn't great, like for walking long distances or lack of sidewalks, steep hills. And so what we wanted to do was figure out a way to provide first and last mile connections to transit so that people can be transit riders if they just have a little bit of help from a rideshare partner.
That makes sense, a little bit of a connection. Yeah. My daughter does this. She lives in Seattle. And most of the time, those first and end things, she ends up walking, which is fine. She's 26. She should walk. But if she were a senior citizen and she could not, here in Pierce County, get to those beginning end places, that would greatly impact someone's life. So good on you for recognizing that. So how did this program come to be?
So we were lucky enough to be one of 11 transit agencies nationwide who were given a federal transit administration grant called the Mobility on Demand Sandbox Grant. And the idea was that the FTA recognizes that ride-sharing services are becoming a big part of how people get around. And they wanted transit agencies to partner with rideshare partners, other app-based technologies, to figure out how they could best work together to give people kind of a seamless transportation option when needed.
Oh, I love that, because we do see in other countries, especially in Europe, we see a friction, Todd, between established transportation and these kind of app-driven services. And I love the fact that this program recognizes the collaboration that can go on between them. So Lyft is obviously a partner in this project. What's your company's role in this?
Right. Well, first, Lyft is really, really proud to be partnering with Pierce Transit on this program, this pilot program. Our job in this one is to provide first and last mile connections to and from transit centers and bus stops.
Wow, that's perfect. I mean, that pretty much says it all. So, Penny, where can people go from and go to? And we have a video that's going to roll while you answer this.
So what we did was we looked at the parts of our transit service area where there is fairly good density of like residential, fairly dense neighborhoods, but maybe the transit service is limited or it's difficult for people to access transit. So we have zones where people can travel, like for example, Northeast Tacoma. There's not transit service from Pierce Transit in the middle of the day or on weekends. So these can connect them to the Tacoma Dome station so they can take other transit options. Also, Pierce College Puyallup, one of our partners, they have classes that go later than when our last bus service is provided there, and so they can take Lyft home at night if they've taken a night class.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different places around our service area. We have a great map online that people can look at to figure out, are they in one of the zones and when are those zones active so they can get their free Lyft ride to get to their bus.
This opens up a huge world of mobility for people. This is unbelievable. I mean, what you just said about my class goes late and how am I ever going to get home? You know, 10 years ago, we would have not taken that class. And then that has a whole huge ripple effect on someone's scholastic trajectory and also just their career in general. So you had mentioned this, but I want to hear it from you. Are these rides free?
They are free. Absolutely
Wow.
free. In specific areas on certain days and times, nothing to it. It's free.
That's incredible. And is that subsidized by the grant?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
the bulk
so
of
you're
the
not
grant.
losing money, which is good because we don't want you to lose money.
Neither do we.
Oh, yeah, exactly. This is a great program. Okay, so it's subsidized by the grant. So do you have any other additional partners?
Yes, so we're working with Pierce College Puyallup
Okay.
because they are a facility that is bursting at the seams with students. They have some parking challenges there, so this is really ideal for kind of a test case for them as well to see how students will respond to having that opportunity to take night classes. We also are partnering with Sound Transit because the park and ride at the Puyallup Sounder Station is at or over capacity almost every day. And so with the Lyft rides, people in a certain part of Pierce County can go to and from the Sounder Station to either catch the train to go up to Seattle, they don't have to worry about parking, or they can use one of our routes that serves that station as well.
Wow, impressive. You guys have done your homework. So Todd, do people, it looks like from the video that people need to download the Lyft app on their phone to access the program. Number one, is that correct?
Right. If you haven't tried Lyft, now's a great time.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really easy. Just download the Lyft app onto your smartphone, set up an account, and then when you're in one of the designated zones, you use a promotional code, and the app does the rest. The ride ends up being free.
Wow, that is wonderful. Doesn't get any easier than that, does it?
No.
Absolutely not. So for Penny, if people don't have a smartphone or if they need wheelchair access on a vehicle, what do they do?
So we have, because we're a public transit agency, we have to ensure equity and provision of services.
You bet.
So we want everyone to be able to try this out. So we've set up a special phone number they can call. And what that does is you get one of our customer service reps using a special tool from Lyft. And they will be able to schedule the ride for that person if they're not able to use the app. And if they need a vehicle that's wheelchair accessible, they can call that number as well and have a ride arranged.
My goodness. So Todd, this may seem like an obvious question, but I think it's also an important one. What is Lyft hoping to gain from this partnership?
Right. Well, Lyft envisions a world in which cities are not built around roadways and parking lots, but rather communities and people. So it just makes so much sense for Lyft to partner with transit agencies like Pierce because those agencies are often the backbone of mobility in these communities. So it just makes so much sense.
Oh, it does, and it makes it quality of life. I mean, the ripple effect of having easier and carbon-free footprints. Like little Jaquita just said, leave no trace. I mean, that is so amazing. And Todd, we were talking about in the green room about the cost of a car. Right. And how in our time it was a rite of passage. But now for somebody in their mid-20s to have a car, the cost, the gas, the insurance, the parking, and then you brought up a really great point. You get one ticket, and boy, it changes your rates forever. And also young people don't grow up driving like you and I grew. I think you're so much younger than us, but it's okay.
Clearly.
I mean, because I was driving at the age of 16 and it was freedom, man. But that's not the case anymore in big cities. Kids don't wake up at 16 and say, hey, I want a car and I'm going to drive around the block and look for parking. It doesn't happen. So your programs truly are part of that fabric of our life that we talk about. We need to have them. Okay, when the pilot program is over, what happens?
Well, obviously it's very nice to have the free rides right now, but what we're hoping is that this will give a lot of people the chance to try transit and realize how useful it can be in planning their day. And so we're going to be gathering a lot of information from this because it is kind of a research grant. And we'll be looking at, which zones had the most use of these first and last mile rides so that we can see maybe if we have some additional budget funds, where can we extend our fixed route service? Where would we want to introduce kind of an alternate service? We also might look at continuing partnerships to see how we can keep going with this idea of building these collaborative ways to get around. So ultimately, we'd really like to see a lot more people trying the bus as the way to get around. And this is a great sort of intro for folks to figure out how it can be done and how it can benefit them.
I want to say thank you to both of you for taking time out of your busy schedule. You for leading this, for all of your drivers that we want to say thank you to. And of course, you and your team for heading up the grant research and just thinking of every little spot in between that you've thought of. And I'd love to have you back here when the program is over to talk about some of the results. Date?
Certainly.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up another great segment of CityLine. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to be in your home. We've given you some really great things to think about in this past hour, so please go out there, be a part of the tapestry, and above all, pay it forward. And when you come back, as always, we'll be waiting for you right here at CityLine. Take care.